Hi again everyone, this is fifth installment of my talk on the vastness of karma. As you probably have noticed by now, it's a very informal way of bringing across information on a subject that I've pondered on for a very, very long time. I've got a bit of a knack for that, thank God to my granddad, who was a great philosopher, and even as a child used to love listening to him, and I think I might have inherited some of his ways. I like to keep things informal. This is not a professional kind of recording or anything, because I think we're all human, and my emphasis is on keeping it human, keeping it real. You might hear stuff going on in the background, the camera fell down on one of these things, and so on. And I quite like to include life on life terms as it sort of comes along and surprises us with lots of different energy things that happen to us all the time. Little unexpected things are all a part of that, and I'm sure you realise that a lot of it is, in life is about all of the unexpected. In previous talks we've talked about the omnipresence a lot. We've talked about the energy seed and the essence seed, which I use as a term of what incarnates from lifetime to lifetime, about the energy principles behind what makes the belief stand about there being many different universes, and also our inner principles of being infinite beings who are incarnated temporarily into a physical existence, and us having brought along all of our attributes from past lifetimes and creating our future lifetimes in from moment to moment as we sit here. That all sounds wonderful, and it is. I've left it a little while to sink in, just because some of these principles aren't what we come across in everyday sort of news at all. And it may never have been something that we've come across in our education, whether we were at school or at home, or whether we went to classes or have our peers talk about things. And it's certainly not something that I've come across a lot in terms of what's out there, not even in the mainstream media. I do know there's a certain select group of people who talk about spiritual stuff all the time, and because this is my personal subject, this is what I feel I've specialised in. Especially, you know, sort of, once again, I'll hold it up. This is a book that you can get on Amazon. It's called Thoughts on the Vastness of Karma. It's a massive project that I've been writing for some time, and it's an accumulation of ideas and concepts and musings that have sort of just come together in terms of explaining a concept that really can be explained in one sentence, really, or in a very short time. But because it has such a huge array of influence over all of our aspects of our lives, I decided to make the book about looking at karma from different aspects in our lives. One of the things that I feel is very much a solution, or and something that we can work towards, which I started to talk about in the last fourth installment of this little series, is that there is a way that we can look at integrating the concept of karma into our everyday lives that can be very, very useful. And I always feel that it has to have practical applications for it to work. And the reasoning for that is that karma underlies pretty much everything that we're here for, and that we're all about as temporary beings on this planet. But it's no, it's that easy, is it? We've all got times, we've all been through times, and we're still going through times where it's not always rosy, is it? And it's not always something that we can avoid either, that some of us might go through some traumatic times emotionally or physically or psychologically or mentally, and even spiritually. And sometimes all of them all together, and sometimes we have times where it's just wonderful and everything is going really well, and the next thing that happens is something happens and that we weren't prepared for. Long may it continue that we are all well and keep well, and of course this is very poignant a time to sort of mention this, that there are ways that can help us get through those times when things aren't going as we had expected them to. And one of the things that I discovered as part of my journey finding out about karma is not just finding out why we are here and how we are here, and it's also finding out what we're going to do with that information. To look inwards and find ways to kind of go beyond our brain capacity to understand ourselves and our place in this, on this planet. I have sat here so many times myself thinking, what's it all about? How can it be that I'm sitting in the living room doing a lovely talk to an unknown audience, assuming that somebody's going to watch it, but doesn't matter if not, but just enjoying myself sitting here thinking, oh yeah, this is cool, and then the next day something really dramatic happens that leaves sort of like an inner residue within my energy, and it affects me emotionally and on many other levels too. I'm sure you can relate. I'm not talking about something that only just happens to one person. It happens to all of us, and we have to kind of, I think, be prepared for that. But we are not, are we? Nothing prepares us for the impact of what happens when a family member suddenly falls ill, or the drain it is on our spirit and our physical existence and our emotions when there is illness in the family, or if we are suffering ourselves from pain and discomfort. Then life suddenly changes so dramatically that we become dependent on external circumstances to help us, and we can only wish for better times where things are going to improve again, it seems. But there is more than that. We don't just have to wish and put it out there, although that's a good thing too in terms of manifesting, you know, keep wishing. And I will give other methods over this series as to how properly manifest, because most of us don't know how to do that. There is something that I came across which really, really helped, because the underlying principle of what happens with our inner energy in this lifetime that is keeping us alive, it obviously is supposed to flow around our body freely and happily, like children running in the garden, and we think, oh yeah, that's always going to be like that. But over time there are things that can affect us in such a way that our energy slows down and at sometimes stagnates, and it can get completely blocked. So our karmic energy can't do what it wants to do with our potential, and it wants us to move forward, but our physical energy can become so dense that it actually kind of gets to the point of no return. Now, before that happens and becomes really dramatic, should we not kind of find, you know, some methods and be shown some methods and actively engage in methods that allow this energy flow to carry on again and to get going again? And of course, you don't find that in the mainstream newspapers. You don't find that sort of on the 6 o'clock news. You don't find it anywhere useful, really, sort of in any ads on the telly or something. Those are not the kind of sources that will tell you what actually will help. Those sources are orientated towards a slightly more exploitative method of trying to extract money, or actually sometimes actively reducing our energy field. So what I really wanted to create was to find something that would work, that would be free of charge, that would actually help the energy get going again, that everybody could do themselves at home and would be to the benefit of everyone. And I thought there must be something like that out there. And lo and behold, I did come across it. I did come across it in 1998, probably not even being fully aware of what I'd come across. And there are energy therapies out there which are actually quite abundant by now. There's lots and lots of different ones. And if you haven't come across any of them yet, please have a look at energy therapies. Because what they do is they literally tap into the body's energy system, and whilst we're tapping on physical energy trapped in the body in physical terms, it also helps our karmic energy free itself as a result. It does it all automatically, or it's supposed to do it automatically, without us actually sort of having to be, you know, rocket scientists in order to benefit. Just like you breathe, you know, sort of you breathe in air. You don't have to realize exactly what the constitution of and the chemical components of the air are. You don't have to be a rocket scientist in order to breathe or to eat food or drink water. So these energy therapies are there for everyone to benefit no matter what. So just our simple aliveness once again is so precious that if we focus on it and ask the right questions and ask for the right things to come to us, they will be shown, they will demonstrate themselves, because they're not that far away. But we have to kind of get ourselves into that mindset of actually becoming actively involved in our own well-being, and say, right, enough's enough of all of this trauma and physical defect and everything. I want to find out exactly what will help me, and not spend a fortune either, because I'm a little bit of a spendthrift, so I didn't want to you know, advertise anything. I'm not there to kind of be one of those YouTubers or something that says, oh yeah, you need to buy this, you need to do that, and this is like this product and so on. That's not what I'm all about, never will be, never have been. But there are therapies out there, and I know therapy is almost like a bad name already again, but there are methods, shall we say, that can help. And what they do is, if you imagine that within your energy within, which runs into hundreds of thousands of channels that work all throughout your body, with some major points, you know, you're probably familiar with kind of acupuncture and acupressure and those kind of points that get accessed with needles and stuff like that. Not even necessary to do that. But the energy channels, they're tiny, minuscule channels, about a third of the thickness of your hair. So they're not visible, and they're certainly not acknowledged in the Western medicine system. I once tried to find a book about it at all of the university bookshops in Oxford, and they just looked at me strange. So nobody really wants to acknowledge it in the West that these exist, but they certainly do. We can tap on to these and into these energy channels, and what happens is, imagine these hundreds of thousands of energy channels all throughout your body, right into your fingertips, from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, and somewhere, almost like a river, if you imagine a beautifully flowing river, that's how your energy channels are supposed to be. They're supposed to transport energy throughout your body. You even have two major energy channels that run from the top of your crown all the way along your spine, like the caduceus staff, in a sort of DNA type sort of pattern, spiraling around. I should make this motion because that's what they do. Spiral around your spine to be your vital life force energy and feed all of the energy centers called chakras at the center of your body. as well as going out of your crown all the way around, looping all the way around. There's loads and loads of information that and healing that they have to come bring back into your crown. Spiral all the way around. You can't see it, but going out into the earth, you can imagine that goes through your body, through the bottom of your trunk, into the earth, grounding itself and bringing healing energy again back into your body, and so on. That's what it's supposed to do. But do we even notice when that doesn't actually work very well, when it doesn't function very well? We probably don't. So what we have to do is kind of check in with these energy therapies, like, could there be any energy stuck within our bodies? And the answer that I've found over the last 22 years is there usually is. And it could be something that happened yesterday, it could be something that happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It could be something that happened in a different lifetime, even that you're carrying over into this lifetime. You may not even be aware of it, but there are hints, and I will talk about it in the next video. I will just say over the next 4 minutes or so, these energy therapies work. You tap into it, you can tap onto something emotional, you can tap into something physical, you can find something psychologically wrong with you, you can work on some of the, mentally challenging disturbances within your energy. It's worth a try. It doesn't do you any damage, but I'm also putting a disclaimer here. If you're suffering from something really debilitating, you may need more than that. You may also want to see a doctor. Please don't use them just simply to kind of self-medicate and things like that. It won't do you any justice in terms of needing to find out exactly what's wrong if you're suffering from something really severe. So I won't say that suddenly you can change your eye color with energy therapies and things like that. But if you imagine you're going back to that river, if there's lots of boulders in the river has to sort of go round the boulders. And if there's a complete dam blocking the energy, then the river will just build up and up and up on one side and will completely be dry on the other side. That can happen to your inner energy as well. And it will show itself. It will show itself in physical symptoms. It will show itself in emotional symptoms and so on. And that's kind of logical as far as I'm concerned. But for many people, that will be a completely new piece of information to sort of think about it that way. I've been doing this for 22 years already, which is kind of incredible because I'm thinking, wow, that was just yesterday. But time starts to kind of work differently. Time doesn't really exist ultimately, but of course we are in a very, very dense situation with the 3D. So that's where time and space do exist. Outside that 3D, it doesn't. And the further we get away from the 3D, it just, sort of goes into a different, completely dimension altogether. But whilst we're in 3D, we are suffering, and suffering is prevalent. So we need to kind of come to grips with that in terms of, what can we do about it? What's actually an active component that will help us get through the suffering? So I found that these energy therapies really, really work in terms of sometimes almost instantly alleviating some of the symptoms that you get. Like if you get really, really anxious, you can address the anxiety. You can give it a rating from how high is this anxiety out of a scale from 1 to 10. You do a round of this energy therapy and you might start off with 100 out of 10 or 1,000 out of 10 because it's through the roof, this anxiety. And you do some energy tapping and all of a sudden you're down to a 2 out of 10 or 3 out of 10 and you wonder what the heck's just happened. And it is quite an incredible journey because you can tap on so many different things. You can sort of not think of them at first. You think, oh my God, I can't even think of one thing that I want to tap on. But if you do, then make a little bit of a list, because we're going to talk about this a little bit more in the next video. And because I do believe that it ties in very, very beautifully into our talk about karmic energy and how we can alleviate karmic situations as well that go way beyond just this lifetime, the karma that we've brought from the past, is something, you know, sort of that I've focused very, very much on with energy therapies as well, including and in addition to meditation I mentioned before. And at that, I leave you to look forward to the next part, and I look forward to seeing you then.